All right, well, Pokemon fans, I was looking at the comment section on my Flash video, the one I recently uploaded about um, the Legends hypocrisy over Flashpoint ruined the Invasion crossover for me. And the comment that I saw was a person asking, hey, could you do a video on the Pokemon anime? Like, I don't know, maybe Ash versus Leon and, Ash becoming I guess you could say the new Monarch or Pokemon champion or whatever, because heaven forbid he actually becomes a Pokemon master, let alone the series actually telling us what a Pokemon master actually is. Or, how about the new Horizon series and what are your thoughts on that? Well, this particular video, I'm kind of going to do like a amalgamation of all those topics. I won't go in like full depth of Horizons and whatnot, but let me say this much. I am 33. I have been a fan of Pokemon since the beginning, when the first episode aired in the United States. And no, it was not Pokemon I Choose You. Battle Aboard the St. Anne was the first episode of Pokemon that aired in the United States. And I watched it. I remember as a kid back in the day, flipping channel surfing on Saturdays, like jumping back and forth between. Look, don't get me wrong. Children today have so many options. They do. Like, you don't have to. They have the benefit of not having to wake up at specific times to watch shows, because they can, I want to sleep in this Saturday. I'll just watch the cartoons or whatever, later today or whatever the case may be. Or they can binge an entire series. Back in the day, there was nothing that beat the excitement of waking up early Saturday morning, and you had the options of Fox Kids / the Fox Box, ABC's One Saturday Morning. You had Kids WB. Then, of course, if the Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, or Nickelodeon had some cartoons, there was just such an abundance. Yeah, you had almost half a dozen channels with some bangers on there. Some shows are like, okay, I'm not watching that show, so I'm going to watch Recess or something like that. So I remember as a kid flipping through the channels. I remember it was the commercial break. It was, I believe, Power Rangers in Space was the current season. It was the current season of Power Rangers in Space. New episodes each Saturday. And I remember it was a commercial break, and I flipped to Kids WB, and I saw, wait a minute, what's this? A bunch of people throwing these red and white orbs, and a bunch of rocks with hands started attacking. And I'm like, what's this? Of course, that was Geodude. And yeah, Battle Aboard the St. Anne. And I've been a fan ever since. So that little history lesson was to show that I'm a person that have been watching the anime since the beginning. So seeing Ash's journey come to an end, it was sad because it felt like the end of an era. But at the same time, I didn't love the final episode. Let me just put it this way. The entire final arc of Ash's journey, I believe it was called Aim to be a Pokemon Master. I did not like it. I mean, they teased us with the idea of Ash might catch a Latias. Yeah, I had to think, because I'm like, I know Latios was in that mini arc, but I was at the very end. But they didn't do it. I was like, screw y'all. I mean, the only good thing was seeing Ash have all of his Pokemon rotated. But I did not like the fact that that happened during these episodes, when it's like, having Ash rotate his Pokemon should have been the theme of Journeys. Because Ash was going to all the regions, why not have him rotate all of his Pokemon? That does not mean he could not have caught other Pokemon. But have him utilize some of his other aces and other just team members in general throughout the PWC, right? The Pokemon World Championship. So that leads into Ash versus Leon. Now, let me put it this way. Ash versus Leon is not my favorite battle in the entire anime. Now, that final episode where Pikachu and Charizard fought, 10 out of 10. That particular moment from Ash versus Leon is one of the best battles. Animation, the background music, and also, side note, I believe I was in my second year of college. I remember, that was when I kind of made the transition from strictly watching the English dub to watching the Japanese version, basically English sub version. Because I was in college, high speed internet, and it was right around the time of the Sinnoh League. And that was when I started watching, because I'm like, wait a minute, I can watch these episodes months in advance, but it's in Japanese as opposed to waiting to the English. And also, side note, if you grew up with the Pokemon anime like I did, you know that the moment that the Battle Frontier saga started in English, that was the beginning of the end, because they literally got rid of the entire, I believe 4Kids was the company. They revamped the entire thing. So all the background music, all of the voice actors shifted. I will never forget, I think the episode that kicked off the season was called Fear Factor Phony. And I remember when the characters started talking, I'm like, wait, do all the voice actors have a cold? Because at the time, Pokemon was airing on Cartoon Network every Saturday. So when they put out the first episode, I'm like, what the is this? And then thankfully, halfway through DP, Diamond and Pearl, I figured out the Japanese thing, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just read the subtitles, because I can never look back, because the music and the voice acting of the English dub never did it for me. That doesn't mean I have not watched English dub episodes, but it's always a Japanese my first choice. So man, Ash versus Leon. I think Ash did not deserve to win because he had way too many handicaps. I mean, don't get me wrong, Leon was the one that said, hey, let him use all his gimmicks. Like, I remember the first time they did the updated theme song where they added, like, you know, Clement and Bonnie, Ash Greninja, Paul, and several other characters to the opening. And then earlier in the theme, you had Ash looking so cold. You know, he had all of his Pokeballs in his hand, and on his wrist, you saw the Mega Glove. Mega Glove, because remember, instead of a Mega Ring, he had the Mega Stone for Lucario on his glove. What did he have? The Dynamax Band and the Z Ring. And I'm like, yo, this is so cool. And then he tossed his Pokeballs, and all his team came out, and then they, you know, launched their signature moves, if you will. Oh man, I love that so much. To this day, I still go back and rewatch that theme song because the visuals were on point. But Ash got to Dynamax or Gigantamax his Pokemon. He got to use the Z move, Pikachu's move, and he got to Mega Evolve. And right there, it's like, yeah, even if Ash wins this fight, there's always going to be an asterisk by it, like, well, the only reason he won is because he got to use the gimmicks. And not only that, he got to use 4 because after the Eternatus situation, Ash got to G-Max Pikachu. So he got to Mega Evolve Lucario, he got to use Pikachu's Z move, and Gigantamax Pikachu, and Gigantamax Gengar. And of course, you know, Leon Gigantamax, both his Charizard and Cinderace, but still. I think the biggest reason that I don't really like Ash winning is not necessarily because of the use of gimmicks he got to use, but the fact that the entire Pokemon, man, the Masters 8, these are the top 8 trainers in the world, at least the ones who compete in the competition. Because if Paul was in there, I could think of like 5 other trainers who could probably take the places of some of the people on that stage when it was time to announce the matches. But Ash was using a team who had little to no development, which is sad. Because you could say what you want to about his Hoenn team or his Unova team. Well, maybe Unova, I'm being too nice to them. His Hoenn team or Johto team. They had time to develop. You got to see their personalities, learning new moves, some of which, you know, these Pokemon evolved. I don't feel like by the time we got to the Masters 8, I really knew any of these Pokemon. Because we rarely got to see episodes where they were just hanging out outside their Pokeballs, training or anything. So to see these Pokemon that were freshly caught, all of a sudden matching up with champion tier Pokemon, it made no sense whatsoever. It didn't. That the Steven match, Cynthia. Why in the world was Infernape not in this battle? Why wasn't Sceptile in the Masters 8? Why wasn't Snorlax? I can go on and on. But going on to the Leon fight, I think one of my other issues was the fact that the gimmicks didn't feel utilized properly. For example, Gengar Gigantamaxed against Inteleon. But instead, it's almost like, okay, we're going to give Ash the handicap of using all of his gimmicks, but we're purposefully going to write it so the gimmicks really aren't that powerful, or they're as strong as they should be. Because I never, when I was playing through Sword and Shield, well, Sword, I never really Gigantamax or Dynamax my Pokemon. I literally can count on my fingers how many times I did it. I don't remember much about it, and plus I really don't play competitive like that. If memory serves, I don't think that Gigantamax or Dynamax Pokemon can flinch in battle, like if you use Fake Out or something. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they can't from my experience. So there was that one moment, I think, where didn't Inteleon strike Gigantamax Gengar with like a Dark Pulse, and it was some BS reason, but after only 2 turns of attacks, Gengar fainted. Or, I'm sorry, it didn't faint, but Gengar lost its Gigantamax and it went back to normal size. Something about, I don't know, I think, what was it, or was it a Snipe Shot? I forgot, it was either Dark Pulse or Snipe Shot that Inteleon struck Gengar with, and it like was so powerful it knocked it out of its Gigantamax form. That is some BS. And if I remember correctly, Gengar did get the win, and then Mr. Rhyme came out and defeated it. I'm like, what was the point of that? And then when Mega Lucario came out, Mega Lucario defeated Mr. Rhyme, but only because it launched the Aura Sphere. And I'm like, Lucario could have done that in its regular form. And then, I think one of the dumbest decisions they made was like Dragapult was using Thunderbolt. And for whatever reason, okay, so at the time, Lucario had Double Team, which is a non-damaging move. So it's like for evasiveness and whatnot to, confuse the opponents. And then, hopefully launch an attack, while they're distracted. Aura Sphere is a ghost move. Reversal is a fighting move. So those 2 attacks would not damage Dragapult, leaving Bullet Punch, a steel type move, as the only move Dragapult could be damaged by. So for whatever reason, instead of, let's say, using Double Team, to avoid Dragapult's Thunderbolt, or Aura Sphere, which wouldn't affect Dragapult, but would, let's say, cause an explosion once it collided with the Thunderbolt to, let's say, give Lucario the opening for a Bullet Punch, Ash goes for a Bullet Punch, and that connected with the electricity, paralyzing Lucario, and then he got hit by a super effective flamethrower. And then Ash called it back, which was, I believe, the first time in the series where a Mega Evolved Pokemon were called back to his Pokeball and then sent out later in battle. And if I remember correctly, that was because of Dragon Tail. So from there, Lucario easily got knocked out. And it's like, I get Leon strong, but now it's like, so Ash wasted 2 of his gimmicks, which, if I remember correctly, Mega Evolution and Gigantamax were the only reasons Ash got those first 2 wins on Leon, by taking out Inteleon and Mr. Rhyme. So then later on in the battle, Pikachu uses its Z move to counter Charizard's G-Max move. So that's 3. And I'm like, okay, so all the gimmicks were almost wasted. And then I guess Pikachu did get the G-Max and take out Cinderace, so that wasn't a wasted gimmick. But I think Leon was frustrating because dude could have easily won the battle with Cinderace. Now, Cinderace was, it went out after, okay, I know Cinderace is not the most durable Pokemon, it's a glass cannon, but after only 1 move, which I believe was Pikachu's G-Max move, it got knocked out. And I'm like, what the heck? But they could have easily remedied this, like, let's say when Cinderace was fighting Dracovish, have it miss a high jump, or even when it fought Pikachu at the beginning of the match, Have Cinderace get recoil damage by a missed high jump kick. That's all they had to do to later on justify Pikachu's attack taking it out in one shot. Oh yeah, because all that recoil. Because if you play the games and if high jump kick either misses the opponent or they avoid it by using protect or something, that is a lot of recoil damage. That's all they had to do. But I think the biggest offense to Cinderace is the Libero ability, where we saw it earlier in the match. It used Scorching Sands, if I remember correctly, and it turned into a ground type, making it immune to Pikachu's electricity. That's two of its moves, Electro Web and Thunderbolt, that wouldn't even work. So for whatever reason, Leon uses the G-Max Powerball or whatever, and it's still a fire type. I'm like, bro, if you use the ground type move, what's it called? Max Quake? Cinderace would have been a ground type, and Pikachu's G-Max move wouldn't even affect it. So Cinderace could have either won or did a lot of damage against Pikachu. And then, I don't know. But yeah, then we get to the final match. Yeah, it was Pikachu versus Charizard. Yeah, the broken Rillaboom. That was crazy. Rillaboom. Charizard is obviously the ace, but Rillaboom is like one of the most OP Pokemon I've ever seen in the anime. But yeah, so Charizard versus Pikachu. Just, I mean, it's hard to tell what the best battle in the anime is. Infernape versus Electivire, Pikachu versus Charizard, Pikachu versus Tapu Koko. So many different, and I'm talking like specifically 1v1. Even if it's part of like a full battle, I'm talking about one Pokemon versus another. Just the epicness of it. The animation, the music. I have nothing bad to say about this. I mean, I think this battle could have definitely done better had Ash's team been a mix of some of his other powerful Pokemon. I mean, if there was anybody on his Journey squad that should have been on this team, it was definitely Mega Lucario, but he could have been used a lot better. But yeah, I feel like Ash using a squad of his most powerful members, along with the one gimmick for each trainer. I mean, if you wanted to do Eternatus, granting them both an extra turn of Dynamax, but I would have preferred it if Ash used a squad of his best of the best to avoid needing to use all of these power-ups. I mean, but think about it. Ash Greninja, Pikachu Z-move, Mega Lucario. I would have taken that. Maybe. Well, yeah, it was a good battle. Not my favorite. I think Paul versus Ash is still my personal number one. Also, side note, Ash versus Gary in the Johto League is iconic because Ash finally beat Gary, but that battle does not stand up against the test of time. And it's not even just because of the animation from that battle compared to, let's say, Ash versus Sawyer, more specifically Ash Greninja versus Mega Sceptile. Oh man, okay, I gotta admit, I would probably put Mega Sceptile versus Ash Greninja over Infernape versus Electivire, because that freaking animation combined with the XYZ theme song, gorgeous. I honestly feel like Ash versus Gary was rushed as I don't know what. Way too many one-hit knockouts. And then Charizard defeating Blastoise, it was alright, but remember, Charizard defeated, I mean, Leon's Charizard is something else. But don't forget, Ash's Charizard defeated what? Scizor with Flamethrower. Duh. Somehow one-shotted Golem with Dragon Rage. Okay. 40 hit point Golem. And then it defeated Blastoise. So, yeah. But that isn't my favorite. And plus, Ash didn't even use Pikachu in that battle. But then we get to Ash versus Leon. It was what needed to happen because this was Ash's journey coming to an end. But I just hate the fact that we get the aim to be a Pokemon Master. We don't find out what a Pokemon Master is. Team Rocket is still chasing Ash and Pikachu. It just felt like, okay, maybe this is just open-ended, like the journey never ends. But I think that Ash winning the competition would have been better if he was older than 10 years old. Because it's like, You're 10 years old and you've reached the top of the mountain. Now what? Like this is worse than peaking in high school. You peaked in not even middle school when you think about it. Sheesh. Well, yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And if there are any other anime things you want me to talk about, feel free to let me know in the comments.